Hello everyone and welcome to the next episode of the Voron 2 series. Today, just like the last episode, I'm going to start by showing some stuff on the CAD file, but today we're actually going to work on the stuff that I show you, at least most of it. And I'll just start by saying I didn't change anything here, but I did work on some stuff here. So I worked on the bottom skirts, just like the top skirts that are here. I used the same hexagonal pattern there, and just combined everything and split it into 4 pieces, or 5 if you count the corner piece. That's for the Voron 0 seat bed. Again, I can't print anything large there. And there is this. I showed this earlier version of this, that is 2-3 episodes ago. It's for wire management, because since I'm using 4 2020 extrusions on corners instead of 4040s, I can't route wires in those extrusions, so I need a way of routing wires from the bottom electronics chamber to the top electronics chamber. And back then I designed this thing, and this is basically the same idea. So the cables will come out here, travel in the back, and then go in here, and that's basically it. So that's also ready, but we're not going to do any of this stuff just yet. We're going to work on the power skirt, which is these 2 pieces of the bottom skirts. So these are the mount for the power inlet panel, so this gray part, which is basically this top part that's for the Doom Cube, but I did split it into 2 pieces, again to fit on the Voron 0 seatbed. So here we will have the filtered inlet, here the power switch, and here is a Keystone Ethernet jack slot. There's also a slot cover, which is probably the thing I'm going to use, because I don't think I have a Keystone lying around. I also widened these holes for the filtered inlet mount. That's for using M3 threaded inserts. I don't like using the self-tappers that are spec'd, so I wanted to use threaded inserts, so I widened those holes, and that's what I'm going to do. Today we're going to print the panel pieces, mount parts of it on that, and then print the skirts as well, and mount the panel on the skirts, so we'll have the whole thing ready. But the rest of the bottom skirts, I don't think we can finish it on time today. I also worked on the display for the top electronics chamber. If you remember, I was using the Fistech Mini 12864 or something like that, the spec bomb display. Well, since I'm going with a taller top electronics chamber, it made sense to use a larger screen. So I have a official Raspberry Pi display laying around, so I decided to use that. It's not a great display choice nowadays, but in this case, since I have it lying around, I might as well use it. So I didn't do the material here. I should have selected black glass or something, but whatever. This thing, that's the display, and I designed 2 pieces to mount the display onto using M3 screws, and that will slide in the top skirts. We'll print those as well today. And one thing you might notice with them, on top of being separated in the center, the top skirts, that is not this is also separated, but I'm talking about the top skirts. The skirts are also separated here as well, and that is again to fit it on the Voron 0 heat bed. And I'm going to just acetone weld these together, and hopefully they will look good. Not just these pieces, but the entirety of the top skirts. And I'm not 100% sure how I'm going to secure the case for the display to the skirts. I probably should have designed a screw mount or something, but I didn't, and it's now printing, so I'll have to figure something out. But I might use double-sided tape, I might acetone weld, I don't know, but I'm sure I'll figure something out. And that's how it's going to work. And this also has a mount for the Raspberry Pi, which means I can mount Raspberry Pi here, and I will do that because it's shorter for the ribbon cable, and it's a mount for the Raspberry Pi, which means I don't have to mount it on the electronics plate here, which means I can get away with a smaller electronics plate, which is also nice. So I'm just going to mount it here and run whatever that needs to be run from Raspberry Pi to the MCUs and the camera. And with the camera, just like I did on my Voron 2.4, I'm going to use a USB extension cable instead of just connecting it directly. And that lets me have a spare USB connector in the main printing chamber, which is nice because that means I can just disconnect the camera and connect the ADX345 MCU without tearing apart without getting into the electronics chamber. So I can connect the ADX345 MCU, do my resonance testing, disconnect it, and connect the camera back again. And it's just a convenient way of doing that. But anyway, we can start the actual progress. So today we're going to work on the display, as I said, and the power skirts. We're also going to print and mount the legs, so I can attach the feet as well, so that the printer has feet. We'll work on sealing the front door for the Doom Cube. Someone had a good idea about that in the comments of the last video. I'm going to try that. And we're also going to test fit the side panels with the insulation on. I can't actually mount them yet because I need the gantry in place to do that. But yeah, we'll test fit that. And we're also going to take a look at the MJF parts that arrived for the Enrage Rabbit Project's Galileo filament sensor, and maybe even more. So yeah, let's begin. In the last episode I talked about the composite panels maybe being a few millimeters too wide. Well, that was based on just a tape measurement, so I wasn't 100% confident at the time, but now if we zoom in, well, yeah, it is a few millimeters too wide. So I'll have to shave a few millimeters off these. I'm still busy printing the flanges, but at the same time I decided to do the side panels. So yeah, this is how they are going to look. It's this anthracite color that I used previously as well. And in the inside we have the 13mm fake rubber insulation. And I cut the sides of this. Not the greatest job still, obviously, but it won't be that bad once, especially when it's installed. And well, yeah, this is how it's going to look. It fits. I test fitted it. It's fine. To mount them, I need mounting clips that I designed, so need to wait for that. Plus, I need to put the gantry back in there before I put the side panels. So yeah, they will definitely be installed much later into the build, but I wanted to get them out of the way, and it looks like they're going to work. So I'm going to do the other two now as well, off camera, and just know that they're ready, and when it's time, we should be able to install them fairly easily. This was recommended in the last episode for sealing the doors in the comments below. I don't remember your name, but I'll put it up on the screen. And the recommendation was to use these channel filling stuff. I'm sure they have a name, but yeah, using this stuff for sealing it, because yeah, this is obviously protrudes further than the extrusion itself, so, and it is soft, so it can form a seal, and I have to say it works really well. There are some small gaps like from here to here, but really nothing major. And another nice bonus of this is this. So it clicks in place nicely, which means I don't have to use a latch or something like I explained in the last episode, which is also pretty nice. And yeah, I'm pretty happy with how this works. But there is one thing I should mention. I posted this on a Discord server, and someone let me know that apparently this stuff is PVC, which apparently, I'm using a lot of apparentlys because I didn't double check this, but I'm pretty sure it's correct. But anyway, apparently this stuff off gases at around 60 degrees. So yeah, if I reach anything above 60 degrees, apparently this releases toxic fumes. I don't know how big of a deal that is. As I explained before, I don't really care about the ABS fumes, so I don't know how serious it is with PVC. But yeah, I'll definitely have to look it up. But the thing is, at least initially, this is not going to matter. My initial goal with this is to just get it printing ABS again, as well as it used to back when it was in the cabinet, the V2 that is. And yeah, for that, the chamber temperatures probably don't reach 60 degrees, but yeah, and as a result, it's not going to matter. But the long-term goal with this is to get it to print more exotic materials. Yeah, when I get to that point, that could be an issue, so I'll have to look it up. And yeah, for that stuff, I am even considering a chamber heater and stuff like that. So Yeah, at that point, this may not be a great solution, but currently I think it works really well and it locks the door nicely in place, so I'm pretty happy with this. And just as a side note, you'll notice that right now I have to push it on two sides. Well, with the handle mounted here, I don't think that's going to matter. As long as I mount it in the center, I should be able to pull it easily without, having to do that, which is kind of important because I'll have the polycarbonate door panels, so I don't want to crack them, but really with a proper handle, I don't think that's going to matter. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with how this works, and I'll use this for a while, but in the future it might change when I start exploring more exotic materials. But printing that handle is a bit of a problem right now, because yeah, the handle is way too big. I can't even print this diagonally, so the B0 seat bed strikes again. In this case though, I don't want to separate this into two pieces like I did with everything else, because I want this as a one large solid piece. But yeah, that means I can print this on the Voron Zero. But this is not really essential for me to get the printer working again. So what I'm going to do is get the Voron 2 working again. And when I put the polycarbonate panels in there, I'm not going to lock the door in place like I showed you, because then I won't have any grip to unlock it again. So I'll probably just close the door until it hits the seal, and I'll keep it there and put something in front of it to prevent it from opening again. And this will be one of the first prints I do on the Voron 2 when I get it working again. And yeah, with this printed, obviously that won't be an issue, but yeah, I'll have to build the Doom Cube first and then do the tuning again, because I'm sure I'll have to change a few things. And yeah, after that, this will be one of the first prints so that I can use the door properly. But yeah, until then, I'll use the solution I just talked about. The feet are now installed as well. So from the front, right now anyway, this is how the printer looks. And on top of the printer, for the top chamber, there's going to be another set-ish of these, but they will be even taller, as I showed in the CAD. And yeah, that should give you an idea of how this is going to look. I attached the legs to the frame and the feet to the legs using M6 screws that I salvaged from eSun spools. No eSun spools were harmed in the making of this video. Well, that's a lie, actually I tore them apart. But yeah, I think they look pretty good. Also, you'll see the Misumi feet I got from Lector. And that's not the spec for the Dome Cube, but I think it works really well. The MJF parts I ordered are now here as well. This is for the Enraged Rabbit project's filament sensor in the Galileo extruder. But before that, I want to show you how this is supposed to work. So this is a print I did back when my V2 was it wasn't printing great, if you remember, a couple episodes ago I think. And yeah, this took a lot of sanding, but you can see the mechanism here. So once there is filament which will push on this, it will block the optical path here, and that will trigger. And that's the mechanism for the filament sensor. Well, as I said, this took a lot of sanding, and I also wasn't too happy about its fitment in here. So for example, it made this fin wall really bulge up and stuff like that. So that's kind of the reason I went with MJF, so that I don't have to bother with tolerances, because my V0 isn't printing that well at the moment either. As I explained, that's kind of a zombie at the moment. Like, there are some wiring problems, there are some loose stuff on it. Yeah, it's not great. So yeah, that's why I decided to go with MJF. And well, the parts were one of the options was ordering them in black MJF. So this is what I did, and well, to be honest, this looks like it's somewhat painted. Like it's just based on the feeling of it. And yeah, this part works well, for example, but this is the ABS part they shipped. I ordered this just to accelerate the progress. I explained this in an episode, but yeah, it doesn't fit in there very well. And you might say it could be the ABS part at fault, and it's definitely not perfect, but they also sent the gray unfinished version, so that should give you an idea. And if I slide that in, it slides in easier. It's hard to show here, but it actually does slide in easier. There we go. So yeah, it's I'm assuming it's some sort of coating or paint or something that's causing the problem there. But there's also a problem with this as well. I didn't notice this in the last episode, but you notice if I put this in front of the camera, you should see a light there, because that's the filament path, and there isn't. So again, just another example of horrible print quality. But still, I think the gray parts will work just fine, so I'm going to use them. As for the ABS part, I'm obviously going to have to reprint that. But as I said, my Voron Zero isn't printing that well, so I don't want to print them on my Voron Zero. So I'll do this when I do the rest of the Enraged Rabbit project, so basically the carrot feeder, the main unit. And yeah, when I'm doing that, I'm going to do this part as well. I'm assuming by that point I will be able to print relatively well on my now Doom Cubed Voron 2.4. And yeah, assuming I can print well like I used to back in the cabinet, I should be able to print it just fine. And yeah, I'll probably still use the MJF part for fun, unless ETA changes any of the parts, that is. And the rest I'll print in ABS and it will do the job. But yeah, as I said, that means the filament sensor will be done later. So yeah, just stay tuned for whenever I end up doing that. It will be later down the line. As I said, my priority right now is to get the Doom Cube working. So here is the top display mounted there. I couldn't print the last skirt piece. I want to get this video out on Friday this time, and that's just how it's going to be. That part alone takes like 2-ish hours, and that means I won't have enough time to edit and upload this. But yeah, this should still give you a good idea of how this is going to look. I think it will look pretty good. And you can also see the scale here. It's a huge display to use on a 3D printer, but yeah, I think it will look pretty good. Also, you can see how tall the top electronics chamber is. It is pretty tall, but I think it will still look pretty good, and also explain why it's that tall. It's because of the Nevermore and the Enraged Rabbit project carrot feeder and the electronics. Just that's the only way to fit there. And yeah, I think it will look pretty good still. I also have the gray printed parts of the power panel, so you can see the filtered input there with M3 screws that go into threaded inserts. I used black ones just to color match. The power switch and the keystone thing. I was planning on using a plug here because I didn't think I had one of these lying around, but I remembered later on. When I moved to this apartment, I needed an Ethernet extension, so I bought 5 of those off AliExpress. And yeah, I only used one, so I had that lying around, so I used that just as a plug. Really, I'm not actually going to use this to connect to the Raspberry Pi. I'd have to run it from the bottom electronic chamber behind the printer all the way to the Raspberry Pi. It's a pretty long path, and honestly, the Wi-Fi works just fine for my setup, so this is just there to fill that hole, but I think it works. Also couldn't print the skirts for this, obviously, for the same reason, but yeah, you can more or less guess how it's going to look. And you'll see both of them finished in the next episode, that's for sure. But as I said, I want to get this video out on Friday, so yeah, that's how it's going to be. One last thing is, you'll notice I'm using the same Z drives here. Well, if you don't know, the Doom Cube actually has a different Z drive, but the difference is this gap. The Doom Cube Z drive actually covers that, and the reason for that is because of the chamber that's going to be heated. Just alone from the insulation is enough because of the heat bed, but you could also add a chamber heater. And yeah, in either case, the chamber will get hot, and this is a path for the hot air to escape. So the Doom Cube version of it just covers that, and that's really it. It's a really thin ABS piece, so it's not really insulating, it's just blocking the air path, and that's about it. Well, to print that on the Voron Zero, it's probably not a great idea. My Voron Zero isn't printing that well at the moment. I talked about it before, and yeah, I don't want to get tolerances wrong or something, so I'm using the stock V2.4 drives and they'll do the job just fine. And to block the air path, I'll probably just use the stock feet mounting plate here, and that will close it off. I might also use like rubber insulation around it, or I don't know, I could also just duct tape it. Really, as I said, it's just blocking the air path, nothing more. So yeah, it's not a big deal. Plus the hole on this side exists on the Doomcube version as well because of the Z motor. It has to exist there, so really it's not blocking that much anyway. It's just blocking the path for the hot air to rise, and really that's about it. So it's not really that critical anyway. So yeah, we'll see about that in the later episodes. I don't know if it's the next episode or later. But as I said, that's going to be it for this video, because I want to get this video out on Friday. That's going to be it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. As I said before, I want to make quicker update videos while I'm building the Doom Cube, so the next episode will be fairly soon. Probably on Friday. Monday, I don't think it will be ready, so we'll probably have a different video. But as I said, that's it for this video, so I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please leave me a like down below, and thanks for watching.